How you doing? This is about a rant. Yeah. No. Yeah, a little bit of a rant. The art of debating has fallen through big time over the years. What I mean by how it's fallen through is simply I can backtrack where I had a person who was working with me and helping develop access sanctuary and chapels. I was in a debate with someone and this person chimed in, and instead of debating the topic, would throw the church under the bus as an ad hominem. So I simply got rid of that person who was supposed to be the treasurer. Nothing big, nothing more dramatic, just fuck you, you know. What if that person became the treasurer and all of a sudden, you know, down the road the church is active and I got somebody who's a part of the board acting like a total asshat about the church, you know. So it was a church decision type of thing. But again, the person couldn't stay on topic and lashed out. And that's the funny thing about a lot of people I deal with. They don't know how to debate. Or a friend of mine said that ad hominems is a part of debating. But for me, if you can't keep on topic, you're no longer, you know, on the thread. Just how I see it. Now, this is my perspective. I mean, I could be wrong. I mean, you know. But my attitude is, there's a difference between debating and arguing. I should look them up before I say it, but I'm going to say it anyways. If you're going to argue, it's just one opinion versus the other. There's nothing to back your shit up. It's just, I'm right, you're wrong, and there you go. When you have a debate, especially, you can't argue with logic. So if you have somebody who has one experience versus another person with their experience, well, compare notes. And you do through a debate. So this is a predecessor to a video I'm going to be doing called Christian Witchcraft, which it's one of those 3-letter posts I put up and I ignored it for a few days and you see 100 people responding. So it's like, oh, I caught someone's attention. Well, the problem I had with a lot of it is two main factors. One was someone stands up and says there's no such thing as this and that or whatever, and they jump on their high chair, not a soapbox but a high chair, and they sit there and say this is not how it is. But they don't do anything to show the opposite. In other words, they say that if it isn't what it is, what is it? You know, debating is also about educating. It's about showing the other people what you know, and also showing what is truth to you by definition. And when people who don't have that ability to sit there and say, well, this is wrong because here's the insight of this, or this is wrong because of that, they'll just sit there and say it's wrong and there you go. Then what I would tell them is, go show me how wrong I am. Go educate me. Show me. Now, a friend of mine, she knows my ploy. She'll tell me, well, go look it up. But the thing is, if you're basing opinion as fact, it's time for you to show, you know, put up or shut up. I've put people in the banhammer quicker than a heartbeat on my friend list on Facebook over this. People from as far as South Africa to people as local as Sarasota. I had a guy who in Sarasota telling me, well, my word is bond, or my word is good enough. You know, well, this is in the 1950s where a handshake and a smile is going to keep your word. I mean, in this day and age, bullshit's too easy to spiel. And he didn't like that. The fact is, he told me I was a punk and he knows where I live, and that kind of shit. See, so again, the art of debate has failed. I got one guy, I debated actually on another forum, and my ending proclamation was that he would be on public ignore because I wasn't going to retard the group any further of his antics and how he does things. The irony was no one stood behind him to encourage him or to agree with him on his debate. It was just him and me. Except for one admin who basically was kind of saying, you're being a retard, and it wasn't towards me. So again, when people lose the ability to stay focused, my attitude is when you have a debate, I look forward to being put in my place. I look forward to being wrong. I look forward into being schooled. And the funny part is, a lot of people can't, because they're used to stating their opinion as fact. That's taboo number one. And taboo number two is not actually having the backing of it. Now here's another thing about backing. I had a guy who gave me his backing. It was his WordPress blog. It was, I wrote a paper. It's like, yeah, you're a bigger fucking idiot. So what? You wrote a paper. Was it recognized by, the World Religion Council? Was it recognized by anything else? Did the parliament of your country say, hey, you gave it 5 stars? No, you're just a fucking idiot who wrote a goddamn blog. I know, I got 7 of them. So that isn't showing any validity either. And yeah, but you'd be surprised how far people reach up in their ass to pull out something to debate me. It's not that hard. You just gotta know, 1, know what you're talking about, and 2, have the resources to back it up. Not that difficult. I had someone give me a hard time one time in the left-hand path about, what do I have to contribute? What do I have to do? And when it comes to world religion in particular, as well as left-hand path, I figured it out. I found out through a comedy definition, actually. And it was, and the definition of a particular comic was an observational comic. I think if it was to be a left-hand path or satanic version of what I am, it would be an observational Satanist. I observe what goes on in any paradigm, and it's not too hard if you understand the paradigms to critique it or to show the differences or to even tell the people they're wrong themselves, if not even your own. It's pretty much what I do. I've been doing it since 2006. So, and no one stopped me. No one's told me I was wrong. And if I am wrong, I'll own up to it. Bottom line. But right now I deal with so many people who have fragile egos, resort to ad hominems, people who just don't know how to, win at point is an expression I have, but point being the subject matter. I have one guy who would rather call me or anyone else, the faggot or faggotry type of thing, just as an ad hominem. And the problem is it kind of demeans not me but him, because he has to resort to such lowbrow tactics to make a point, but his point is moot because he is doing the ad hominem. He is attacking the person. And the problem is he's supposed to be a smart person. He's supposed to be intelligent. He's supposed to be, the quintessential representation of the paradigm and a lot of different people's viewpoints. And when you deal with him directly like I did, it just shows that he's not that smart. And because if you have to resort to such tactics, it only means one thing. You really don't know what you say you know. It doesn't take much to copy and paste from one to another and create a book and then spiel it off like it's your own. Just saying. But when I deal with a lot of occultists out there in general, same thing. They go off and they want to sit there and say, well, this is not true, this is not right. One of the offshoot conversations from the Christian witchcraft topic was African witches, and this guy from South Africa, there's no such thing, and I'm like, well, prove it. I mean, my attitude is, go ask a witch doctor. And but you know, what's the definition of witch? Even if you went to European standards, it would still coincide with the African standard. The only reason why is because they're people who know more about nature's medicine than the people around them. Therefore, they're known as the healers, the Wiccans, the people who know and see better. You know, the people who are the wise. You know, the people who actually took the time to understand nature's pulse. And that's the funny part. It's because a lot of people feel as though a blanket term is a specific term or for a specific culture. And a blanket term is what it is. It encompasses. So this person had no way of defending himself with me. I even asked him, by definition, well, in that case, if it's not a witch, then how about pagan? And I defined paganism, and I went off, and this guy, all he could do was post up several of his blog posts of his own blog site, and that was his valid point of reason, and that doesn't cut it with me. You know, there are things like religioustolerance.org. There's a lot of other organizations that have more credibility and consensus of what paradigms are. Even if it deals with the individual perspective, it will give you a general consensus of it. Whether it be left-hand path or right-hand path, paganism, witchcraft, whatever. So when you do use a resource or a reference, you know, make sure it has something to do with more than a blog. It's not tangible. You need something with more bite to it. And obviously, and if you belong to your own paradigm, if you're a tradition of sorts, and someone's commenting on your tradition and you argue it, then you have point, you have a topic, you have knowledge of it, and not only that, but you should also have your reference point as to prove your point, right? So a lot of people don't have that ability. They don't have that skill. They still like to resort to name calling or to use items or objects. Like I said, I had even had my church thrown at me as an ad hominem in a debate, and I think people have simply just lost the art of debate. And basically, it's about not just proving if you're right, but proving your point with backing it. And if someone can counteract it, then you know, you do the ways and measures. And if you're grown up enough to handle it and do it, you'd be surprised how far you can go in the conversation. But not many people are at that level, and that's the kind of people I weed out too. So anytime I have people telling me, well, I know this, or I was talking to a person, you know, well, I'm sorry, you're an idiot. Not only that, the one guy from South Africa who argued with me, and I told him bring it, you know, to point. He even brought me to his blog, where the point being was there was no South African, no African witches, and a person who with a doctorate degree in his article acknowledged the fact there was a African witch. So at that point, I just bounced him for being an idiot, because it doesn't matter what he had to say in argument if there's already people acknowledging African witches. You know, why is this 20-year-old something, you know, supposed to be no more than someone who's been, you know, a doctor in his field, right? So again, it's all about credibility. It's also about lineage of your knowledge, and like I said, the footnotes and bibliography. If you can't back your shit up, shut your fucking mouth. Otherwise, you know, your opinion is one thing, facts another. If you present your opinion as fact, you need to back it up. Oh, my alarm's set for lunch. Anyways, thank you for your time, and I hope you guys understand the difference between argument and debating. Because arguments go nowhere, and debates, if done correctly, there is a finality, there is a conclusion. It's not about ego, it's about knowledge. And you'd be surprised how many people present themselves knowledgeable and come out short end of a stick.